How to use CRMs for cold calling efficiency. Why cold calling feels harder than it should. Most teams don't struggle with cold calling because they lack effort. They struggle because their CRM isn't built for calling speed. When your reps have to hunt for numbers, manually log calls, and remember follow-ups, high volume becomes a grind instead of a system. The fix isn't more hustle. It's a CRM workflow that makes the next call and the next step automatic. The time tax is real. In Salesforce's State of Sales research, sellers report spending only 30 to 34% of their week actually selling, with the rest going to admin and internal work. If we want more conversations and more pipeline, we have to reclaim that time by designing the CRM around how SDRs actually operate during a 2 to 3 hour calling block. That's why we treat the CRM as the control center for Outbound. Whether you run an internal SDR team or partner with a cold calling agency, the same principle applies. The CRM should reduce clicks, enforce consistency, and turn every dial into clean data you can improve. Done right, your cold calling services become more targeted, less exhausting, and far easier to scale. Make the CRM the backbone of your outbound motion. CRM usage is basically universal now. About 91% of companies with 10+ employees use one, which means the gap isn't adoption, it's execution. Too many teams treat the CRM like a phone book. Contacts go in, calls happen somewhere else, and outcomes live in notes no one can analyze. If you're running B2B cold calling that way, you're paying for software without getting the leverage. A CRM earns its keep when it does 3 jobs at once. It's the single source of truth, the workflow engine, and the analytics layer. When companies implement CRM effectively, studies report average lifts like 29% higher sales and 34% better productivity, which is exactly what outbound teams need when they're trying to book more meetings without doubling headcount. The ROI can be dramatic because efficiency compounds. Nucleus Research found CRM returns about $8.71 in revenue for every $1 invested, largely through better conversion and visibility. In practical terms, for an outbound sales agency or in-house SDR agency, that means fewer wasted dials, cleaner follow-up, and coaching based on what's actually happening, not what reps remember after the fact. Start with clean, centralized data, or your dials don't matter. Cold calling efficiency starts before the first ring. If your data is fragmented across spreadsheets, personal notes, and side tools, you'll see duplicate outreach, missed signals, and broken targeting. Exactly the kind of waste that makes leaders think they need a bigger cold calling team. A TechRadar reported study found 34% of businesses have already lost revenue due to fragmented customer data, and Outbound is one of the first places that loss shows up. We recommend a simple rule. If it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. Centralize lists, enrichment results, call outcomes, and notes so every rep sees the same history and every manager coaches from the same truth. This is also where many sales outsourcing programs win. Process discipline and data hygiene are built into the motion instead of left to individual rep habits. Once the basics are centralized, keep the SDR view minimal and purpose-built. Overcomplicated layouts with dozens of required fields slow reps down and encourage checkbox logging that ruins your reporting. For B2B sales outsourcing and in-house teams alike, the calling screen should prioritize what changes the next call: phone, persona, time zone, last touch, and a few ICP fields that shape the talk track. Build call queues and integrate dialing so reps stay in talk mode. If it takes more than 2 clicks to move from one call to the next, your CRM is slowing you down. The solution is SDR-friendly call queues built from saved views that filter by ICP, time zone, and priority, lead score, recent engagement, or required follow-up window. Reps should be able to live in one screen for a full power hour. Call, disposition, next record. The biggest lever most teams ignore is dialing integrated into the CRM. Research cited by CallCloud suggests reps can complete 92% more calls per hour using automated dialing versus manual dialing, especially when calls are logged automatically. CloudTalk also shared a case where integrating a dialer with Zoho CRM drove a 150% increase in monthly call volume, which shows what happens when you remove friction instead of pushing reps harder. This matters because connect rates are tight. Community benchmarks for B2B software cold calling commonly land around 5 to 10%. So small improvements in list quality, speed to next call, and follow-up consistency make a measurable difference in meetings booked. If you're evaluating cold calling companies, ask a simple question. How many clicks from next prospect to next dial? And how much of the logging is automatic? If reps don't love using the CRM during a power hour, your dashboards will always lie, because the best data is the data that gets captured by default. Standardize dispositions and automate follow-up to create learning. You can't optimize what you can't measure, and measurement starts with standardized call dispositions. Define a tight set of outcomes, for example, connected meeting, connected callback, gatekeeper, no answer, bad number, and require one on every logged call. This is where a CRM stops being a database and becomes a workflow engine that turns activity into feedback. Dispositions should trigger the next step automatically. When a rep marks callback, the CRM should create a task at the right time. When the outcome is no answer, it should cue the next attempt cadence. When it's bad number, it should route the record for enrichment. This kind of automation is how we keep reps in talk mode instead of switching into admin mode after every call. The goal isn't just more dials, it's more productive dials. Cold calling is a volume game, but not a blind volume game, so use CRM fields and engagement data to prioritize the right calls first. If you run a blended motion with a cold email agency or LinkedIn outreach services, the CRM becomes even more valuable because it can surface warm-ish prospects to the top of the call queue when they open, click, or visit key pages. Fix adoption by removing friction, not by adding rules. Most CRM adoption problems are design problems. If reps need to fill out long forms, bounce between tabs, or manually type notes just to keep moving, they'll either skip logging or game the system. And then leadership makes bad decisions from bad data. The fastest way to improve adoption is to simplify the SDR layout so the system feels like a speed tool, not a reporting tax. Another common failure is letting data live outside the CRM because it's faster. That shortcut becomes expensive once you scale. Duplicates creep in, multiple reps hit the same prospect, and follow-up becomes inconsistent. For teams that outsource sales or run an outsourced sales team, this is non-negotiable. Handoffs only work when every touchpoint and outcome is centralized. Finally, don't run modern outbound without a dialer that logs back to your CRM. Manually dialing and manually logging 100+ attempts per day is a recipe for burnout, inconsistent follow-up, and inaccurate reporting. Whether you're building in-house or working with an SDR agency, prioritize CRM native click-to-dial or a tight integration before you worry about fancy dashboards. Track full funnel metrics, not just activity. Reporting on dials alone creates busy work. A team can rack up huge activity and still miss pipeline goals if they're calling the wrong lists, calling at the wrong times, or failing to convert connects into meetings. Instead, build a simple funnel inside the CRM and review it weekly by rep, list source, industry, and time of day windows. Here's the framework we use to keep cold call services accountable to outcomes, not noise. When you connect the funnel end to end, coaching becomes straightforward. Fix data quality if connects are low. Fix talk tracks if connects don't convert. And fix qualification if meetings don't hold. That's the difference between more calls and a repeatable outbound sales agency playbook that reliably produces pipeline. Use AI for speed and scale with the right model. AI fits best where it removes busy work and improves prioritization. Modern CRMs and dialers can auto-log activity, generate call summaries, and recommend next steps from transcripts, which reduces the post-call admin that breaks momentum. The key is to let AI handle notes and routing while humans own strategy. Leadership should review AI insights weekly and turn them into concrete lists and messaging updates. This is also where a mature partner model can accelerate results. If your team is stretched thin on sales ops or doesn't have time to iterate on workflows, partnering with a B2B sales agency can be the fastest path to a high-performing system. At SalesHive, we plug cleanly into your CRM and run high-volume programs with disciplined dispositions, integrated calling, and reporting that ties activity to outcomes, so your pipeline data stays centralized and usable. Your next step is simple. Audit the calling experience end-to-end and remove friction until the process feels fast. If you can't get from record to dial to disposition in seconds, fix the workflow. If your data is fragmented, centralize it. If outcomes aren't visible, rebuild the funnel reporting. When those pieces are in place, B2B cold calling becomes scalable. And whether you hire SDRs internally or outsource sales, the CRM becomes your advantage instead of your bottleneck.